Oh yeah, John Mansell, exboozehound. This vlog I think is going to be specifically aimed at the directors and people at Black Country National Health Trust and Black Country Mental Health. I was going to go back to the original spot where I did my first vlog, but my back's in bits and I can't get out my car one more time unless I'm going home to go to bed. And like I did in my first vlog, I've purposely parked towards the sun to give me an excuse to keep my sunglasses on, because currently I don't want to see into my eyes. I think, as I said in the first ever vlog that I did, the windows to my soul. And if I ever watch this back, or anybody who cares for me or loves me or is close to me watches this, I don't want them to see what's going on in my eyes. I think this vlog is going to be called pulling out from Manic Meadows, next stop Psychosis City. So long story short, been heightened for a period, and I think it was not Monday, the Monday before, I think, over the weekend I'd ended up having a row on the Friday over at Hallam Street, Hallam House, Charlman House. You are still going to be hearing about that. There's pages and pages and pages being typed up at the moment. But basically, I ended up losing the plot over there because of their attitude and the rudeness of them. I do understand further why their attitudes have to be that way, but I went there with a loved one who was trying to help somebody out, and that loved one did not do well from it. Let's just put it that way. I saw my loved one upset. I approached Charlman's house and tried to be calm, but as soon as I got a rude, dismissive, discourteous and basically made up response, I did lose the plot, and that was my fault. I should not have. However, you will find out why I lost the plot, and what's happened to this particular person is an absolute disgrace. And I've complained directly to Mark Axel many years ago. It was a 14-page email about exactly the same unit. Absolute disgrace. Anyway, and then on Sunday I was heightened and I ended up having a row in a pub with 3 guys because I was manic and I have no filter or fear. As it turned out, these guys turned out to be whoever they turned out to be, and my move was not a good move. So I knew on Sunday I had to go to Halesview in Halesview. Hopefully you all know that, some of you probably don't, and ask for help. And all in all, I've already said I would give the ladies on reception, Connie and Anne at Halesview, they get 10 out of 10. A lady called Vicky on duty, she gets 10 out of 10. Notes that my psychiatrist made, 6 out of 10. Another person who I called on duty who didn't want to help me, and basically rather than saying I'll take down your details and get such and such to give you a call back, just said to me, can you call back? Now, for somebody who's manic, you're phoning something that you are desperate not to phone, and you get some miserable sod who can't be asked to do their job. That is a boiling point that could have broken. Fortunately, it didn't. So the overall, I think I gave that situation a 6 out of 10 because of that one particular person. If it hadn't have been for that person and the notes that the psychiatrist put about calling me a number of times on the system, and he didn't, he only called me once, and I've had an explanation that sometimes the calls don't connect. I don't buy that. When was the last time that you made a call that didn't connect? Anyway, let's move on. So, been managed with the mania, and what was I doing? So they wanted me to increase the new psych, who actually seems good, whereas the rest of them were very weak. This one seems quite good. He was making decisions about my medication, where my previous psychiatrist, I just made the decisions and got them to accept them. They recommended one thing. I decided I didn't want to do it because I didn't want to go back to put my Depakote back up to 1,000 milligrams a day, because that made me numb, and I couldn't go back to being numb. We started a reduction, I think quite a quick reduction in my sertraline. For 2 days I had to reduce it by 50, and then after that I could only have 50 for a week, and then at the start of this week I was reduced to no sertraline whatsoever. I've googled that, and that is a move that is made for people who are manic. Not one of my previous 4 psychiatrists has ever mentioned that to me, not one. So because I had no sertraline now, I have tinnitus, jingle bells in my head, tingling in my body. So I decided to go with a suggestion that my Depakote goes back up to 1,000 milligrams a day, which I'm now doing. And the psychiatrist and Vicky sorted me out some extra diazepam, as I wasn't sleeping. I was driving around at 3 o'clock in the morning down the motorway. So, yesterday, manic, agitated, unrealistic, delusional, lost. Had a conversation with somebody that didn't really go the way that I wanted it to, and I decided the best way to deal with that particular conversation was to walk away. I went out and I went and printed off an explanation of what people go through with bipolar and borderline personality disorder, or EUPD I think you call it now, and what happens when someone's manic, to help them understand And then after I handed them that, they accepted it, but my floodgates opened. I had no management of my mania anymore, and I did the last thing I ever thought I'd ever do again, and I phoned the crisis line. And the reason I would never phone the crisis line, and I've had actually said directly to Mark Axel's face a number of years ago, the state that the crisis line was in, it'd be safer to shut it down, because it was a disgrace. When I phoned it 10 years ago, I had a voicemail message, and it said, the mailbox is full, you cannot leave a message. And you can imagine what that does to somebody who's manic. So the reason I'm doing a vlog specifically for you guys is this is hard to say, is to say well done. The experience that I've had over the last few weeks, although eventually it ended up being quite dangerous for me on a number of occasions, that's my own fault. The way I've been managed, I don't have a care coordinator. I used to have a brilliant one, but I understand that person went off ill, and then I was provided with somebody who was absolutely shite. Missed calls, playing tennis on the answer phones. Just before end of the year, we decided that she would call me in January. Never got a call, and then all of a sudden received a letter saying that I no longer had a care coordinator, which I didn't really care about because she was useless. But that's, again, somebody who's not as strong as I am, that could have destroyed them. Putting somebody who openly admits they've only just qualified as a care coordinator, they've got absolutely no idea how to deal with people directly, face to face. And as I've said many times, I come from a sales background, said many times, your staff need to have an understanding of customer services and sales, because the way she spoke to me, spoke down to me as if I was some idiot who hadn't got any experience of mental health, and I've been dealing with it since before I was a teenager, and I'm now 51. She was useless, absolutely useless. She lied, and then I got a letter from you lot saying because they weren't able to contact me, which she hadn't tried to, and if she has tried to, why is she not leaving voicemail messages? She hadn't tried to contact me, and then I get a letter saying see you later. Anyway, let's move forward. Don't need that care coordinator. She was rubbish. So I haven't got a care coordinator. But last night, the floodgates opened. I went from Manic, and I can only describe it, from Manic Meadows, heading towards Psychosis City. Uncontrollable crying, absolutely agony in my head, rocking backwards and forwards like I used to when I first had the mental breakdown, lost, scared, terrified as to if I had any other interactions with anybody else, what the outcome would be. I was going to read you a post that I basically said the next person who gives me advice on how to deal with an illness that I've been dealing with since I was before a teenager, be warned, they are going to get an unbridled torrent of unwarranted abuse. Fortunately, I was able to manage and not go down that route, but in walking away, the pressure exploded in my head, and I was uncontrollable and scared of not what I might do to myself, because that's not an issue. But what I might do if anybody else decided to give me advice. So I did the last thing I thought I would ever do again, and I phoned the crisis line. You've already got a post about please, please, please change the whole music. It really made me want to smash my face through a window. I spoke to a guy called Ahmed. He was bang on. Realistically, just the action of me making that call and getting a satisfactory conversation with a caring person who knew what they were doing and understood and whatever, I sort of said to him in the end, look, you know, there's people out there that's going to need him more than I need him at that point. I've calmed down now. I've made the contact. Me just admitting that I can't manage is a huge, huge step for me, and something I don't like doing. Although I tell many people they should always ask for help, I hate asking for help. And the reason I hate asking for help, because many times when I've asked for help off you lot before, you've been an absolute waste of space. Absolute waste of space. And I've seen so many people, including my friend who was at Hallam Street, just treated like a dog, and worse. So you will still be hearing about that. But I'm not going to use a surname. I generally believe a person that I've spoken to a couple of times, Carolyn. I would imagine other people as well, but from the conversations I had with her and another guy called Matthew, not going to use a surname, other people as well, there's something different. There's something good about Black Country National Health Trust. Finally, Black Country Mental Health seem to have some organisation and some direction that is actually helpful. Another person I haven't mentioned, I don't think, on duty was a lad called Sam. He was brilliant. So we've got Vicky, Connie, Anne, Sam and Ahmed. Let's give them all a 9 out of 10, let's be honest. 10 out of 10 is an impossibility, isn't it? But they're blooming close to 10 out of 10. Brilliant. Couple of things knocked a few points off, but that ain't that important. In comparison to what happened 10 years ago, 5 years ago, I don't know what to say. I'm amazed. When I made that call last night, I was scared. I was terrified that I was going to get a phone ringing and ringing and ringing, and it felt like it was ringing for ages initially. No feedback, just ring, 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 ring for a couple of minutes. That's bullshit. You need to sort that out. Sorry about swearing. I'm really trying not to swear. You need to have something on there saying somebody will be with you as soon as possible. All I could hear was a phone ringing and ringing and ringing, and knowing how many times I've been let down before by Dudley, Black Country, any mental health service. I've shied away from asking for help for so long because it was not worth it. It just made things worse. I was terrified last night when I made that call, because if I'd have got something like I did 10 years ago, you cannot leave a message because the mailbox is full. I don't know what I've done. I really don't. So, in all, and last night I went to the effort of tweeting it to both Black Country Mental Health and Black Country NHS Trust, and then I went on to LinkedIn and did it to yourselves on there, and I listed all the directors that I could find that were on LinkedIn. And as it happens, when I looked at it this morning, not one person has interacted with it, which is, again, bullshit. Somebody giving you feedback like that, it couldn't care less. So maybe you lot could do a little bit better, and this is directed to you. There may be people like Carolyn and Matthew and Sam and Anne and Connie and Ahmed and Vicky that are making a difference, but I still doubt very, very much that you that sit there in the director's box have got any idea on what's going on, of the reality. Your staff are doing a really good job, and I don't think you lot have got anything to do with it whatsoever. And I'm happy to sit down with you and have a conversation about that. I'm happy for you to know, and I'm going to link it in. You need to buy my books and see whether you can understand from a person with mental health issues why you've messed so many people up over the years. And that's the point. There's a lot of great things going on, but what about the people that you've destroyed over the last 10, 15, 20 years? What are you going to do about them? I know loads of people who have been utterly destroyed because the system that you ran for the last 10, 15, 20 years was absolutely useless. It's great, and I find it very difficult to say this, it's great that I've had a positive experience, but I've heard very few people. I know lots of people that wouldn't have even picked that phone up last night because they've been let down so many times by you. I'm getting emotional now, so I'm going to calm down. So, my recommendations: buy my books, understand, watch my vlogs, read my blogs, understand from somebody who's got the balls and the strength like me to stand up and fight against you lot and keep going after you until you've got it right. It seems that the people I've mentioned are doing the right things, but I still don't believe that you guys have got a clue what's going on. Prove me wrong. Buy me books, find out what's going on, read me blogs, watch me vlogs, invite me to your meetings, and I'll tell you the truth. Tell you the truth from somebody who has been destroyed by your people in the past. I'll tell you the truth from somebody who's seen lots of people destroyed, lots of people, two very close friends of mine, that were basically killed by negligence, in my mind, by the trust that I'm talking to now. I don't care whether you don't like me saying that or not. Sue me, I ain't got a penny anyway. But I'm trying really, really hard to stay positive, to stay calm. But I think you can probably guess that underneath me, underneath the facade, there is a, I was going to say raging tiger then, but that's ridiculous. Mind you, I've got a lion on my t-shirt anyway. So, let's sum up, shall we? If I hadn't called Crisis Line last night, I've got no idea where I would have ended up. I was terrified to phone Crisis Line because of the amount of times I've been let down in the past and the amount of people I know that have been destroyed by the pathetic, not fit for purpose system that you've been running for many years. From what I've seen more recently, there's a lot of good stuff happening. It's happening too slowly, and a lot of the work's being doubled, tripled, whatever. You have no connection to social care whatsoever, no understanding. You've got absolutely no connection to third-party organisations that basically do half your job for you most of the time, and then you disregard what they know. You roll out, or used to, I'm going to go used to. I've been doing stuff with the NHS for many years. Social care actually value their experts by experience. They really do. They always have done, especially locally. West Midlands ADAS, they've valued for many years. ADAS valued for many years. As far as I'm concerned, the NHS have token experts by experience who they roll out from time to time to say, ooh, look at us, aren't we listening? You're not. Prove me wrong. Prove I'm wrong. There's people in your team, and I'll mention their names again: Caroline, Matthew, Sam, Connie, Anne, Ahmed, Vicky, my new psychiatrist, who seems to have a pair of plums, are doing amazing. And I'm absolutely, I'm flabbergasted, I really am. I can't believe how good they are. But I'm the only positive story that I know at the moment, and I nearly went psychotic last night, and that's positive. I haven't heard another positive story. And the reason being is we only ever hear the negatives because there's so many of them. You get the occasional, oh, look, he's done well, but very, very few. And again, they're massively outweighed by the thousands of lives that you've destroyed over the last 10, 15, 20 years. Doing okay. The people who are running the game on the shot, on the right levels, they're doing a good job. But it's too slow. It's disconnected. It's meant to be something called health and care. There's no such thing as health and care. There's health and cares all the way down here, and you have absolutely no understanding of how to speak to each other. Maybe that's getting better. Hopefully it is. As far as I've seen in the past, the NHS think they're the bee's knees, and they look down on everybody else. That has to stop. Social care needs to be, and this is politicians now. I'm delusional. This is politicians now. Given all the funding that comes forward, yeah, there's more funding, but it costs more to do all the work they're doing. It's rubbish. If you had an endless pot of money, you wouldn't be able to fix the problems of the NHS and social care, and that is because you don't understand how to do things differently. We've always done it this way. You say you don't say that anymore, but you do. Well, why would we change that? We've always done it this way. You change it because it's always been a disaster for how God many years, and you just don't have the plums to admit that. Find some honesty, find some plums, find some guts, find some backbone. Tell us what you really think. Tell us where you really are. Work with us, and let's make it as good as it can be. Not as good as it is at the moment, because it ain't that good. One positive story I know, and that's me. And I'm manic, delusional, sitting here talking directly to you guys, if you can be asked to watch it. And nearly went psychotic last night, and God knows what would have happened if Ahmed hadn't have answered the phone. The whole call from start to end was 18 minutes. And the action of me actually getting through to somebody was probably the biggest part, and I was terrified to make that call. Ahmed was brilliant, got to be honest. Very calm, very collected. because I was manic, I was talking over him, and he handled that, not a problem at all. So we've done half an hour. Who knows? Have any of you bothered to look at it? Will any of you bother to contact me? Probably not. But if you disagree with anything that I've just said to you, prove me wrong, and I'll call you out on it. You know, I want to work with you guys, because in the past, working with people like, well, people like Matt Boucher at Adult Social Care, Pete Jackson at West Midlands ADAS, I can't think of any other. There's a lady called Kem who does some amazing stuff at the at ADAS. There's brilliant people at ADAS and Adult Social Care. You need to learn from them guys. I believe they care. I don't believe the NHS does. And prove me wrong. So, gone past 30 minutes. I've managed to stay relatively calm. I've sworn very few times. I may have said some challenging stuff, but if anything I've said is wrong, tell me. Probably not at the moment, because my response may not be very good. But you will be hearing from me with a full report with regards to Hallam Street and Charlemont's house, and the treating the person who's a friend of mine like a dog, if not worse. Upsetting a loved one of mine through rudeness and arrogance and a shit show. So we've still got a few things left to settle, and I'm trying not to sound aggressive and whatever the word I'm looking for there. But what I am saying is, if I do come across as aggressive, if anything that I'm saying is wrong, prove it. I'm calling you out on this. This is what I was doing 10 years ago. Calling you out and saying, oh, okay, we'll challenge you on that. Prove it. Show us something. Show us something that you're doing good. I can tell you loads of stuff. I've just told you loads of stuff of these individuals that are at the front, that are doing an amazing job under ridiculous circumstances. But tell me what you guys are doing. What differences are you making? You know, how much is it costing us to pay you your silly salaries to do very little? Again, if I'm wrong, prove it. And I'm going to go now, because if I don't go now, I think I'm going to start. I am going to get out of my car, and I'm going to get on a soapbox, and I'm going to rant and rave until somebody comes and picks me up in a police car. So yeah, I think it's probably time to go. It's been lovely talking to you, and thank you again to Carolyn, Matthew, James, Mova, Connie, Anne, Vicky, Sam, Ahmed. Thank you guys. You made a real difference for me. Okay, the outcome yesterday wasn't brilliant, but if it hadn't have been for you guys giving me some belief that the system's changed, last night would have been disastrous, and God knows where I'd be now. So, lovely talking to you, and if I've said anything that sounds too aggressive or is incorrect, let me know, and I'll catch you very soon. As I always say to the people that watch my vlogs, and they've been watched over 15,000 times. My blogs have been read over 25,000 times. I don't have the influence I used to have. Always going well in 2022 until the NHS let me down again in January 2023. Took me 14 months to get an MRI result, and then it turns out that I've got a bulge disc, which I'm now paying 52 quid a week to get sorted, because the NHS was a waste of space. So I will be sending you the bills for that as well. You can pay for that. That's the least you can do. And any stuff that I do for you moving forward, I ain't getting paid 15 quid an hour. You're paying me consultancy fees. Right. I've just said delusional stuff, but I do mean it. And I'm going to go. Nice talking to you. Look forward to hearing from you. And as my motto says, enjoy the good and ride out the bad. Take it easy.